conclusive evidence that we are using more resources in looking into those kinds of theories of harm. Specifically, for instance, if you look at our interventions, we don't really see a trend. The last 4 or 5 years, you will see probably each year less than a handful, some years only one intervention in a non-horizontal case. So there we don't really see any increase. I mean, also to give you an idea, according to my figures, we've had 86 interventions since between the beginning of 2015 and mid-2018, and only 15 of those had motivations that concerned non-horizontal theories of harm. At the same time, I think there was an increased interest in what we were doing because last year in the winter, we were running 3 phase 2 investigations that were included elements of or were heavily focused on conglomerate theories of harm. Those were the Qualcomm NXP, the Bayer Monsanto, and the mentioned Essilor-Luxottica cases. From our perspective, that was probably coincidence. Those were very large mergers where we had to assess horizontal, vertical, and conglomerate effects, and they merited an in-depth investigation, and they, from our perspective, just happened to all be active at the same time. We think we have an established framework. Our non-horizontal guidelines have been enforced since 2008. We also agree with many of our international colleagues on the type of standards we're applying. Unfortunately, the news is a bit, there is no great news from the Commission. Maybe I could mention that recently, though, we have adopted an intervention decision in a case that is interesting from 2 aspects, from 2 sides. One is the product itself. It's dietetic pet food. So if you own a pet and it gets sick, it will not take pills. It will eat a specific type of food. And then the other interesting aspect there was that we intervened in a customer foreclosure case, which I think we haven't done in a while, and the remedy was structural. So I just wanted to point out that from that front there has been a bit of a new development lately.
Thank you. Well, a standard disclaimer applies to me as well, so we'll consider that as said. Well, it's always difficult to do proper counting of the vertical cases because we actually look at vertical effects in many cases. It's difficult to say if this one, which has both effects, is to be considered as a horizontal or vertical or conglomerate. But with that in mind, looking at our practice, we don't consider that we've had a shift. We've always looked at these effects when the case warrants it, of course. It's always been